Welcome to the 521 Incorporated Residential Installation video. Hi, my name is Brian Starzyk and I am the Regional Manager at 521 Incorporated. I wanted to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to watch this video. The 521 Compressor Saver is an important component of your air conditioner. It'll protect your system, make it last longer, and most importantly, help you save money by lowering electricity consumption. Before we demonstrate how the 521 Compressor Saver is installed, I want to introduce Andy Potter, our Technical Director and Head of Training. Andy has been in the industry practically his whole career, and before joining 521 Incorporated, he was the founder and school director and trainer for HVAC Training Center Incorporated. Andy, before we install the 521 Compressor Saver, I think there's a couple things that people in the audience want to know about. In layman's terms, what is the 521 Compressor Saver? What does it do, and why is it beneficial for a homeowner?
Basically, the 521 Compressor Saver will improve the starting torque of the compressor. It'll make it start easier, in other words, a lot faster, and reduce the amperage that it takes to start the compressor. It reduces the time that it takes to start the compressor, so in turn, we're saving money in that process. It also saves the components in between the source of power and the compressor, even helps the compressor's life also.
One question we get asked frequently is, well, if it's such a great component, why don't the equipment manufacturers put it on out of the box?
Okay, originally they did come out of the box. The manufacturers installed them in the beginning. I've been in this trade almost 50 years, and I can go back and find a unit that's 30 years old and open it up, and it'll have a potential relay and a capacitor on it. And you can look at the components that is there in that process and show that they're still usable, they're still working. So the reason it's not on today is because they've modified the operation of the unit to where the pressures will equalize around the compressor, and the compressor will start reasonably well, so it lasts through the warranty of the compressor. Without it, they leave it off for economic reasons, basically. And now it's something that is needed because of the cost of electricity, and the technicians are allowed to put them on after the unit is sold and in place. Even the high-tech units, the higher dollar units, are now coming with them from the factory.
The higher SEER units.
The higher SEER units are coming with this product on it from the factory.
Well, here we are with a standard condensing unit. And before we put the 521 on and demonstrate the effectiveness of the compressor saver, let's first take a look at the panel on this condensing unit and go over a couple of key specifications. Andy, could you bring the panel around, please?
Sure, we've already removed it, so it's easy to access here.
Okay. And what we want to show people and talk about are two key data points. The two specifications we want to talk about are the rated load amps and lock rotor amps. And as we can see, the rated load amps are 13.5. It's a little faded. It's been out in the sun, kind of the typical conditions you would expect at a home. And the lock rotor amps are 73. So that's the startup. That's kind of what you can expect upon startup as compared to the amount of amperage or electricity drawn while it's running. And as we can see, the start amps are about 5.5 times the running amps. 73 amps, in terms of the amount of heat and inrush electricity that brings, is there a comparison that we can make?
Yes, actually, it's going to be about the amount of heat that is given off of an electric range, one of the larger burners on the range. But the heat is what causes the damage on the components between the power source and the compressor itself. So the 521 Compressor Saver will reduce that demand on all the components up to the compressor and even the compressor itself.
And help us protect the equipment and the internals. Are there parallels to the 521 Compressor Saver and the equipment manufacturers in other industries?
Sure there is. The computer industry, let's take that, okay? The computer industry, you go down and you buy a computer and it doesn't come with a surge protector. That's an aftermarket product that you have to buy. Just like this product, it could be added at the factory, but in most cases it's not. So you add it aftermarket to improve the life of the unit, just like you would the computer.
Sure. So again, the equipment manufacturers are trying to keep their costs down, provide a good quality product to the homeowner, but at the same time, not provide all the bells and whistles.
Absolutely. And the automobile industry does the same way. There's things that you could add to your automobile at factory level, or you can add it later. And that's one of the reasons why this component is so valuable to the product. is because it does have a value and it can be put on later.
Now let's see how the 521 can help this particular condensing unit. Andy, why don't we get started with the installation? But before we do that, we want to test to see how this condensing unit is performing without a 521 compressor saver.
Well, what we'll do is read the amperage with an amp meter that clamps on, so we'll be able to determine what the actual amperage is on the locked rotor, and then we can compare it to what it is after we put the start kit on, the 521, and that then gives us a precise understanding of what it's doing for it.
Okay, great.
Okay, and I've locked the meter so that it'll read the amperage. Okay, now I'll put the power back in, safety reasons, and then I'm going to start the compressor and read the locked instrument. So okay, so we actually have a reading here of 84 point something amps, 84.1.
Yeah, 84.1 amps.
The data plate, remember, said 73. So we're even higher than what the data plate said here, and it's a cool day today.
Why is that?
It's because the data plate can't give you an exact, and the compressor, as it ages, begins to use harder work to get it started.
Okay.
So that's why the start kit is so valuable to the unit, is because it protects all the items between the source of power and the compressor and makes them do their job consistently throughout the age of this unit.
Sure. So it's good not only to have the compressor saver on later in life, but you really want to put it on at the beginning.
To save all those connections.
Great. Mm-hmm. So now Andy's going to hook up the 521 compressor saver for us, and then we're going to do the exact same test. We're going to see how much amps this condensing unit pulls on startup.
So we're going to install the 521 compressor saver.
521 Incorporated has essentially pre-assembled these components for us to make it very easy for a technician. And again, we want to emphasize that only a licensed, trained technician should be performing this type of operation.
So now we've got 3 wires connected to the system, and it takes just a few seconds to do that. And we'll be mounting these 2 items in this cabinet.
Well, Andy has now wired the 521 compressor to the condensing unit, and now we're going to do the after measurement. So Andy, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, we'll go ahead. Now I'm going to lock this in so it'll capture that voltage, that amperage. Remember, amperage is what costs you money at the pole. Whenever the light company comes out and reads, they read a derivative of watts and amps. Amps and volts, which creates watts. That's what they're reading. So we want to make sure we save all we can. Now I've just put the power back on, and now I will start the compressor, and we'll see what the amperage actually is with the start kit. And you can see there it's 55 amps, so it dropped as much as 30 amps on the startup of that compressor.
Great. Well, as we can see, we went from 84.1 to 55 amps. That's a significant decrease in starting amps, about 30 amps or about 40%. Andy, this was a remarkable result, about a 40% drop. Is this a typical result? What can the average homeowner expect?
Yeah, this is pretty much typical on the unit that's fairly old or 4 to 5 years old. It's typical for that. Even older units, in the process of installing this component, we usually uncover a weak run capacitor, which is causing a lot higher amperage during running. And that's uncovered while we're putting this part on. So it can result in quite a savings in electricity because of the things we discover when we put this part on. It's typical, though, of what we see for these units that are 3 to 4 years old. A brand new unit will also show the same results on the starting amperage. You just won't have the problems with the other components unless we find something in our test that shows that there was a component that had failed early in its life, which happens a lot now. I've been in this trade almost 50 years, and some of the older units that are still working came from the factory with this component on it. And those units, when you take them apart now and look at their contactors and look at their connections and the compressors, the contactor is still good 30 years later. So it does improve the life of this equipment.
I hope you've enjoyed this video presentation. If you have any questions or would like to have the 521 compressor saver installed at your home, please give us a call or fill in the web form located to the right of this video. We will contact the nearest trained licensed technician in your area. Also, we have prepared another video that better details how the 521 compressor saver actually works. The video is called How It Works, and it can be viewed by clicking the How It Works tab on the 521 website. Thank you again, and have a great day.